Hi, Michael here. This is the Delaware River, and General George Washington is going to use the cover of darkness on Christmas night to make his crossing of the Delaware into New Jersey and make his attack on Trenton. His men have only 5 days left, or they can decide to not re-enlist and George Washington would have no army. He needs to make a move and he needs a victory. Will the element of surprise work? Because this has been planned out in secret on the Pennsylvania side of the Delaware River. So he and his men on Christmas night go up Hockanee's Ferry, and there John Glover and his Massachusetts fishermen ferry over. Yes, they ferry over artillery, not just men, cannons, cannonballs, and George Washington's 2,400 men, with George Washington crossing as one of the first ones into New Jersey. And they're ready to attack, but they're 9 miles up and they're going to have to march all the way down to Trenton. Now, there are two other actors who are supposed to be joining General Washington, or at least helping him that night cross the Delaware. And that is General Ewing's group of 700 men who are supposed to cross at Trenton but can't due to the bad weather. And also General Cadwalader's men in Bristol crossing over into Burlington. But he also doesn't make it either because of the bad weather. It's like today on December 14th, except it's the 25th that night. It's cold, it's icy, it's snowy, it's like a blizzard, just like you see in that famous painting, The Crossing of the Delaware. Now, when do they cross? Well, it's a slow crossing, and he wants to do this, and he wants to make the attack in Trenton in the morning pre-dawn, before the sun comes up. But they can't even get across the water 9 miles north until 3 a.m., and they don't start marching down until 4 a.m. So he knows the attack is not going to come before the sun comes up, and he's going to march anyway, thinking he'll still have the element of surprise. But it's a slow march, and they're going to go in two columns. Washington's group with Nathaniel Greene and General Sullivan's group going down River Road to encircle Trenton and to cut off at the Assunpink Creek any way for the Hessians to escape. They have their 1,400 well-trained men there, with John Rawl in charge, and he had been tipped off, the Hessian leader, that an attack was coming by spies, but he did not put up any fortifications where his camp was there in Trenton at where King and Queen Street were, and George Washington will easily be able to take advantage of that. So on their march down, I do want to say 2 men died due to exposure, due to the cold, due to freezing to death. The others made it, and when they get down, they do still have the element of surprise, even though George Washington didn't think he would, because to his surprise, 50 men actually attacked the Hessians on that Christmas night and run into George Washington on his march down, and he says, "You just ruined my element of surprise. They're going to be ready for us." But they weren't. And when he gets down there, and it's 8 o'clock in the morning, and the sun has come up, he's ready for the attack, and the Hessians aren't. And Henry Knox with the artillery, they fire those cannons, and they go in, and they're met by Hessians who, as soon as they know it's an attack, are at the ready. And they're fighting with their muskets, their bayonets, just like the Patriots are. And it's a fight on King and Queen Streets. And eventually they're pushed back into this orchard, but Rawl says, march forward, fight, fight, and they do. But eventually they're compelled to surrender, and Sullivan does get his men to stop any kind of retreat. And George Washington and the Patriots have taken Trenton. They've won this great victory on the 26th of December. So you're going to say, why don't they just stay there? It makes sense. They won. They have all of this camp there. They have bedding there. They can sleep there. Yes, they do. But the British are going to be coming down. And General Washington knows that, so he's going to have to go back all the way back over the Delaware River. And if he's going to attack again, it's going to be from the Pennsylvania side again. But he's going to be able to take back valuable things with him. By the way, John Roll himself died in the battle, their leader. And there are 900 prisoners that were captured that Washington's going to take with him, in addition to the artillery they capture, and the ammunition, and the bedding, and honestly, the boots probably from soldiers that had to leave them there, and other food that would be critically needed by the Patriots. They're going to take all of that stuff with them and back over the river that they desperately needed. So, this is going to increase morale, and Washington knows this will send shockwaves to the British, who thought the war was over. The war had already been lost as far as they were concerned by the Patriots and General Washington. But General Washington knew this might be considered a one-off, so he might have to attack again, but he had to get out of town first. So he goes back and make another strategic retreat, maybe to come back again. That's the Battle of Trenton. But remember, you can see the crossing of the Delaware, that famous painting of John Glover's men transporting on an icy Delaware George Washington and his men over the river in those Dunham boats. And it hangs in the New York Metropolitan Museum of Art even to this day. It was painted by Emanuel Lunsk, a German-American, in 1851. It was 2 of 3 paintings, and it's still one of the most famous, really, American paintings to this day. It's 21 feet by 12 and a half feet. It's enormous. And if you get a chance, see it. But remember, history happens every day, and don't forget to click our link below to see what happened before this in George Washington's great exploits when he first went over the Delaware River. And stay tuned for the second Battle of Trenton, and maybe a victory at Princeton.